works again. Fabulous. All right. I'm going to wait a few seconds to let some folks join in. Hey, Nathan and Tim, good to see you. I know we've got DCB and John here already, and we're streaming on both Facebook and YouTube kind of simultaneously here. So I may be referencing people you can't see in the chat, but that's because they're on the other channel, and only I can see both channels, I think, is how it works. All right. Got a little friend in the corner there. I'm not sure how long he's going to stay, so we may have to pause things while Scotty, or Scott as he likes to be called, makes his mind up about where he wants to be during the show. So Cataclysm now, good to see you. Neil, hey man, how you doing? I see that you got your package in the mail. Neil was one of our winners from one of the big giveaways that we did earlier on in the month. Let me mute my phone because someone tells me it's going to keep dinging. All right, so what are we doing tonight? So I thought I'd give a quick recap on my year, but sort of a holistic view, and that will inform some of the comments I make. It'll also inform some of the sort of perceptions and attitudes and things that I have about stuff, but without sort of being boring, hopefully not being too boring. Anyway, Mo, good to see you, man. And Douglas, welcome. So, this, 2021 for me was very similar to 2020, with all the, requisite drama that goes around the big C. And I'm not even going to mention the word in the stream, right? We're just going to move on through that concept. But this year, financially, professionally, family-wise, extended family, kids, just everything was complicated and difficult and challenging, and in some cases new, and lots of change as well. So it's been a very challenging year, and I'm pretty laid back, even keel, generally speaking, even keel kind of guy. It takes a lot to get me like flustered. So there was some stuff that was, difficult. So, but good news is my three boys are healthy. My wife is healthy. Her mom, not so much. She's still struggling with hospice issues. We sold our house. We're moving. We're leaving Austin. I'm renting a place right now in a suburb, and we're moving out to Kerrville, and we've bought a block of land, changed our minds, bought another block of land, bought it, changed our minds when we realized that we weren't actually going to be able to start building until next October, 2022. And we're in the midst of selling that, and I'm closing on another property in 14 days, actually. So it's been tumultuous and complicated and challenging. And professionally, very challenging time. Got all sorts of fun stuff going on with that as well. And we probably won't bore you all to tears with that, because that's lawsuits. And, without lawyers, you're lost, but with them, you're screwed. It's a challenging conundrum to deal with. But we've been leaning on lots of lawyers as we sue folks, and they countersue and all sorts of goofy stuff. So it's a high drama in the Sharp household. So with all of that in mind, what I was going to do was take a look at my gameplay for the year. As you will soon see, was significantly less in terms of both the number of games played, number of new games played. For instance, with World of War 85 or Lock and Load Tactical, I barely got to those games. Usually I play them 4 to 6 times each a year or more. Play MBT 2 to 5 times a year or more. I play Great Battles of History several times a year, and that just didn't happen this year. I think I played Great Battles of History twice this year, maybe only once. something makes me think it was twice, and I just didn't register it on Board Game Geek. But anyway, so with that in mind, I this year is not my top 10 or my top 20 or anything like that. It's literally the best few, because I played a lot less games, and some of them were fairly substantial and they're complicated and whatnot. But I think I played some games that I haven't written about or haven't really posted very much about, or didn't make any videos on, because I really didn't feel like I did the game justice or captured enough of the game or was interested enough in the game in some cases. But in most cases, it was just that I was either too distracted or not really super engaged with the game to want to keep going. And so I haven't reported on those, because I felt like it was better to not say anything than to sort of give a half-assed effort or a quarter-assed effort, because most of my efforts are half-assed most of the time. But that being said, that's kind of where I got to with everything. So let's have a look anyway, and let's sort of go through it. That was kind of a bit of a preamble there, I guess, but let's go through these slides. I got like 10 slides, and it's just the little prompts for me, so I don't forget what the hell I'm talking about. I'm going to look at the Could Have Been Champions, 3 or 4 titles that I thought had lots of potential, but kind of just missed the mark, and were, let's see if we can adjust this and make it this. That's not going to work. That's better. The Could Have Been Champions, some games that I, was hoping for more from, let's put it that way. And then, games really shined. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that I played that I will just go into the bucket of everything else, right? And we'll take a little bit of a dive into some of those and sort of go at it from there. Hey, Todd, how are you doing? Kyle, what is up? Nothing like being here for the quarter-ass effort. I love that. And Jim, yes, I am enjoying North Africa. Thank you very much. And that is some kicking ass hairdo you got there going, bro. Nice wig. I'm liking that. Dude, I wish I was a tycoon. I think I'm losing money every time my wife changes her mind. Don't that. Edit. Beep, beep, beep. But anyway, what are you going to do? All right. So now this may not be very easy to see. Let me see if I can make this bigger. So the Boog River, so there's an example of a partial play, right? Where I played 3 turns by myself, and I played a couple of turns with Mo online, and we did that live, and you saw how many hours that took. That was just a time-consuming effort. Baptism by Fire, played that a couple of times. Also, I did register Great Battles of History for a couple. So you can see through this here that typically I'm hitting anywhere between 30 and 40 net new systems a year. This year, I think we clocked in around 20 or something like that. And so a pretty broad spectrum of games, but as I will say, or maybe I noted here, or haven't noted here, but I need to comment. Obviously, I've got a play in here for like Campaign of North Africa. Now, obviously, I didn't play the entire campaign of North Africa. I played 2 sessions of 2 operations stages, and all of the preamble went with that. So probably 20 hours of stuff. So a pretty significant investment, but nevertheless, we got a taste for it, such that I am seeking a copy still. There's a gentleman that said he was going to send me his copy. He hasn't been able to find it. He found the rules and charts, which I now have in my possession. He sent those to me, and he is going to try and send me maps and counters and all that sort of fun stuff. I am still on the hunt for a secondhand copy. Obviously, don't care if it's punched as long as it's complete and not just totally bashed to hell. It would be my preference, but Vegas can't be choosers, and I obviously am not super excited about paying $400 for it either. So that ain't gonna happen. Whatever the going rate is. Hey Jeff, what's going on? Good to see you guys here. I did play a full right to the last roll of the dice Carthage. That was a lot of fun, and I've already given that a game of the year or game of top 10 award in the past, so it doesn't get anything this year. And I've still got, I've actually got 2 sessions of DAC going right now, 2 campaigns of DAC running. So lots of, as you can see, some pretty nifty little games here and some new systems, but not sort of usual cadence that I have been up to. Now, these ones down here at the bottom, aborted, deferred, EPW is the Epic of the Peloponnesian Wars. I had that set up, and then we got an offer on the house and had to pack up. So that's what happened with that. NordCap is still set up, but I'm just not going to get to it this year. So it's got to roll over to next year in terms of sort of stats wise. I had TSWW, the Second World War set up, the Balkans thing. Yeah, actually, it wasn't the Balkans. It was, they have a little one mapper. I forget what it is, a little Crusader or Gazala or something like that. It's a little one mapper for you to taste the system. I had that set up and it just was not going anywhere. So I put that aside because I am determined to try and get through that system at some point. And Kandahar also got interrupted by the house sale and stuff like that. So, all right. So the disappointments. Now, interestingly enough, Hanau is a game from Pratzen Editions that it was pitched as, so let's just go through these and I'll tell you why I found them disappointing. And we just leave it at that. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer the questions. Hey, Jeff Schulte, good to see you, man. The challenge with Hanau was that it was really pitched as a introductory system, what's the right word? Module for the system. And so I don't know if you, I don't really need to be on the screen, so we just do it this way. That for Hanau, it missed the mark for me, mainly because the setup instructions were terrible. They were not clearly done. It made it twice as complicated to actually get started. The victory conditions were all sort of skew-whiff as well. And it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And once again, it was the same version of the rules. There'd been no updates, and it had been quite a while since there'd been a release. I would have thought perhaps that some of the prior issues and some of the commentary going on about fire combat and melee combat and how that all worked would really have been sort of updated and refined since the last module, which I think was released by Legion Games. I think it was the four games in Spain and in the Peninsula campaign. I was hoping that we would get some updates from that, but that system is starting to sort of wane with me in terms of its attractiveness because of the constant issues with setup instructions that are just lazy. And I think you probably all know that that's not a fun place for me to be when I ascertain or believe that the designer is being lazy. Yeah. So that was a challenge. Similarly, but for different reasons, Hood Strikes North, I love the great campaigns of the American Civil War system, the base rules, the 3.1 rules, I believe. But as we get further and further into these modules that are being released, it seems like there's more and more minutia being added, and in particular, some of the random events that occur for weather, for instance. We now end up with, I don't know, I could pull it out and make it look, but 20, 30 extra pages of rules and a lot of if, then, and, ors, and buts. Hey, Sandra, welcome here. Good to see you. And John Frisson, good to see you, or Friesen, I should say. Good to see you. So thanks for watching, John. So that really just stuck in my craw that there was, there's so much dice rolling going on to do your movement and all the rest of it, that when I got to the point where, well, now I've got to roll for weather, and then if the weather was a certain thing, then you had to roll again, and then then I had to halve movement and do this and do that, and it just sucked a lot of the fun out of the system. And I wasn't even playing the full campaign, right? I was playing one of the mid-sized scenarios, and it just was tedious, so disappointing. And I thought it could have been handled differently, but I know that there are a lot of American Civil War aficionados who really, really want that to be granular and detailed, despite the crazy randomness of the movement system in that game. But anyway, I thought that missed the mark for me. Battle Hymn, yeah. So I think we were talking about this last night on Lock and Load live stream. That game felt very generic to me, and I know that it's supposed to be a revision of Across 5 Aprils or whatever it was called, and an enhanced chip pull system as well, but felt very generic, particularly after or compared to Line of Battle, the Blind Sword system, and I played one other as well, very briefly, but I can't remember now. And it just didn't catch me or grab me or engage me as much as I thought it would. And it just didn't really move me very, very much at all. So compared to the other games, I felt like I was playing an American Civil War game. I felt like the history and the thematics and all the rest of it were on point for me. I was enjoying it. But this just was just not, it didn't grab me and go, yes, American Civil War. So much so that I didn't even play the second scenario. I played Pea Ridge, and then I was going to play the big Gettysburg battle. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that. Let's see. What do we got? Comments here. Are you soured on GCSE? No. So this is not true. No, just that one. I would probably play any of the modules with the base rules, and then I'd probably be a little more choosy, I think, Todd, with with what incremental extra rules that I would add, right? Yeah, so this is what Kyle's saying here. And Kyle, I would call an expert in the American Civil War. He's been the War of Northern Aggression, or the Southern Discontent, or whatever you want to call it, the U.S. Civil War. I think this kind of hits. I think some of it does add to the experience, but I think a lot of it, particularly some of these weather rules, were really just a pain in the back. It ended up being a pain in the backside to me, and that was about it. All right, and then the last one, Hanu. Now, this will be interesting because when you see the slides later on, you'll be saying, hang on a second, did you just say something else? Hanu, a fantastic first effort for a simplified version of GOS, but the game really struggled with the rules system, the rules layout. As we were joking last night, all the red marking everywhere. There was important in capitals, and you will use 2d6 or a d10 or whatever it was. Zones of control matter. Those types of the commentary all through the rules just kind of throw you off, take you out of the reading, and then the rules are not well done yet. They need a second go through. I was asking questions with Joe Youst, and we had a great backwards and forwards, much better than my experience with him over the Desert Fox Deluxe. He was very, very helpful, and it was, but unfortunately, it was constantly, well, you could do that, and that could be a rule if you wanted it to be, or you could make that an optional rule. In fact, I might make that a special rule for something. And I was like, no. I just want to know what your intent was. What is the rule, and can you do this or can you not do this? And I found that to be a challenge and a disappointment. That was a lot more work to get through the game because I was recording and I was writing it up, which I still have not done. It's one of those ones that I liked and I played and I got through it, but ultimately it sort of, I felt like I wanted to just stop for the time being because I now was not 100% certain how things were going to pan out. given the result I was getting with the game, I felt like I probably made some errors somewhere, and I'll blame myself for that versus the game. All right, so there were the poopy ones that didn't quite meet the mark, right? Interesting. Last year, I had a quick look. 286 war games, and I'm going to use hang on a second, in air quotes, right? Air quotes. 286 war games. There's a whole bunch of games in there that are A, not published yet, B, not war games, and C, some are card games, and some are little expansions, and some are and when I say card games, I mean non-war game card games. So lots of things that are sort of war games. Interestingly enough, though, out of all of them, I only bought or played 16. So pretty slim purchasing out of new games this year. So that was just a side note, and all of that gobbledygook down the bottom there is just the link to the search I did. You can go look at it yourself. Hey, Mike, good to see you, man. I'm looking forward to you getting your game published. And oh yeah, Jeff, I am. We'll be talking about Blind Swords, Fearful Sacrifice pretty soon, actually. And I think Mo captures the mode there with Hanu. Ooh, Kyle. Just a beatdown on Decision Games. You sound almost as bad as our other friend. All right, let's see. So that was interesting. Here's the highlights for me, right? Line of Battle, Next War Vietnam, I almost said campaign for North Africa. Hanu was in there. North Africa from SCS, Multi-Man Publishing. Korean War, the reprint by from Compass Games. I got some turns in on Under an Iron Sky with a narrative write-up that I was doing for one of the scenarios in that is a rebellion by the East. And sadly, that also was packed up with the house sale too early. As I mentioned earlier on, a fantastic session of Carthage. What a fantastic game that is. I'm not super thrilled with the new rules, but we'll let it be. And of course, in the background, hiding in the background, OCS. I got quite a few sessions of different OCS titles in through the year. I got 2 different scenarios of the Third Winter played, and obviously a lot of DAC through the year and stuff like that. All right, let's keep going here. Like the odds and sods. Now, here's a cool thing. Ranger. I don't know if you can even still get it. I think Omega Games, the gentleman passed away, unfortunately, but I believe his wife or his daughter is still responding to email and selling components and things there. So I'd encourage you to get that game. It's a great game. It was my first play. I strictly did it as a write-up, as a narrative exercise, and that's really what it is. And this is it down here on the bottom right-hand side. You've got this little tactical templates and these maps and things you mark on and stuff, and you're going through random events and sort of see kind of like ambush, that you've got a book with events, and then you may have the same event multiple times, but it'll be spread across such a broad spectrum that it feels like a consistent and thematically interesting continuum. It's pretty cool. Thunder at Dawn, Blind Swords. Just wanted to mention that because it's a brand new game by Herman Lutman from Revolution Games. Just excellent fun. I really enjoyed that game, and I'm still playing that. Top right hand side here, still playing that with a buddy on Vassal. Battles of Prydain. I sold it. I played it. I bought it. I played it. I sold it. It's good. It's interesting. It's different. It's worth having a look at. It's got its little quirks, but I think it's got lots of potential for a series if you ever wanted to do more with the system. It does have this really cool idea of this heroic combat, which I think is pretty awesome for the time. So it's kind of a sort of medieval / King Arthurian period of combat. It's pretty cool. Really nice job. And Twilight 2K 4th edition, I got that in the house. I've written up 2 or 3 different characters. I've read through the rules a couple of times. I'm trying to work out how I want to handle the gameplay. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is do a couple of solo one and dones with the characters I've written up. And then from there, potentially, if I can work out how to host these things, I'm not super excited about having to use all the software and stuff, but either play by email or maybe hosting some live stuff this coming year, I might get a small group of people, and then I want to try and build a continuum across either multiple parties over time, or link them in with the characters that I've written up, and sort of build a story or a universe out of all that. It's kind of a pie in the sky, longer term project. We'll see what happens with it, and we'll kind of go from there. Dev, good to see you, man. And yeah, Mo, you need to get that out and have a look at it. It's good times. Oh, dude, yeah, a line of battle was just awesome here. Yeah, Stiggs, and we're missing Stiglitz because he could put the crap in derision. He could also put the kibosh on decision games. He is not a fan. All right, let's see what else we got. LBW, good to see you here, and Treb, man, what's going on? All right. We'll work out. I'll be posting online about calls for players if it happens, right? Okay, let's go. Next slide here. Favorites of 2021 gameplay, right? So I really enjoyed the Korean War gameplay. I only played the China intervention scenario. It's only 1.5 turns long, I think, but it brought back great memories from playing the original Korean War, almost exactly identical in terms of gameplay and mechanics. Things are cleaned up, lots more crisp charts and all the rest of it. Probably not a big fan of all the charts being on the maps and also in chart form. Kind of like, let's pick one or the other, but enjoyed that immensely. I was also immensely disappointed with the counters. But I will be responsible for that. I ended up with a thick set of them. I started out with a thin set that was offset incorrectly. They sent replacements, which were the thicker counters that were almost impossible to get out of the sprue and just looked terrible. You can go look at pictures online. They're pretty goofy looking. But I believe there is a third set you can get, but I just didn't want to bother Compass Games to ask for that anymore. And one that was a surprise for me was D-Day and Beyond. I got a play of that in. I think Mark Walker actually sent that to me. I'm not sure. So I enjoyed that, and it was surprising how much was built into that game at a sort of tactical level that really gave it a lot of theme, but also a lot of flavor for the struggle to get off the peninsula and then the race to Paris and all that sort of good stuff. I thought it was extremely well done in a pretty tight little package. I did have issues with those counters as well, but was sent a replacement set. You just need to look. Once you get the game, you need to open it and check it, and then make sure you've got good counters, and then you're good to go. Then the map was great as well, so I really liked it. Yeah, Mo, I think I would agree with you right there. Well, now you're making me jealous. Maybe I should be a whiny bitch and ask them to send me a third set or second set, including my originals. All right, Kharkov Battles. I just finished the scenario with them. It was an ass kicking. The Soviets cleaned house. auto victoried I was playing the winter scenario. I forget, I should know the name of the scenario, but it's the one with the snow map. I maybe played it wrong. I don't know, but I thought that it was just a no-win situation for the German forces there. Really struggled to hold any of the objectives really at all. I did a really bad job as the Germans. Because as the Soviets, you can just bleed yourself white and go for it, right? It's not a problem whatsoever. Anyway, I enjoyed it. A lot of fun, very interesting, great rule book, great maps, great counters, great charts. All of that's fantastic. Great setup charts as well, which was really nice. Nice, good, solid game. I need to play it again. I'd probably like to play the larger I'll call it the campaign game, but the two mapper or 1.5 mapper that's in the box. So Mr. Longshore, I'm going to help you get you squared away with your vassal, dude. If you'll be patient with me, let's have a chat sometime tomorrow if you're around, and I'll see if I can help you. Stalingrad 42 got 2 games of that in this year. In fact, I believe, hopefully he won't be watching, but I believe that my opponent is going to capitulate on Monday. As the Germans, he doesn't believe he's going to keep up the pace to stay on pace with the victory track. And if you're only going to buy one East Front game, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, I'm going to shoot from the hip here on this. I think Stalingrad 42 captures the desperate circumstances and the vastness of the front and the viciousness of the fighting extremely well because of the victory conditions, because of the system that he's got with this, Zoc locking, Zoc bond system. I think it does an amazingly good job of. Hey, Hopshed, thanks for joining us there. And Jeff, good to see you. And there we go. So I really enjoyed that a lot. Now, next war, Vietnam, we got to play that, and I have not written up the narrative for it. I was having a lot of fun with the narrative because I used some of the supplement rules for cyber warfare and a few other options. And I'm watching Joel Toppin play Taiwan, Next War Taiwan, and I'm thinking, man, I might try those new air war rules, which kind of abstract things out a little bit. And that might be something that might be kind of cool to try, because I think it brings a different, you're sending in packages of aircraft versus throwing up throwing up and doing these big long battles for the air war and stuff like that. But they're both equally good. I just saw him doing that, and I'm thinking I might like to try that. I enjoyed Vietnam enormously. It's a great example of the naval and land warfare. There is nothing more awesome than sneaking some stealth fighters in a storm and taking out a Chinese CV. That was the highlight of the game for me. And that sucker had to slink off back to China and be gone for 3 or 4 turns. And that let the US get reinforcements in and turn the tide and stop the Chinese cold. So it was pretty cool. North Africa SCS. I have to say, even though I'm only 6 turns in, and I have a few questions around the rules. I think the rules, I'm going to say this word, which doesn't occur very often with DNSIC designs, but the rules feel a little sloppy to me in terms of how activations are defined and what an activation is and how the supply units are used for activations. that nexus there just felt awkward to me, and I'm still not 100% certain I'm doing it right, but I'm having a hell of a good time because the ebb and flow and the cadence of the gameplay is awesome. Just really giving us a true sense of the logistical issues, the challenges with combat and bringing forces together, and being able to also guard your flanks as well, and having that that constant seesaw across the desert as you're bounded by, you know, a sea of desert on one side and the ocean on the other. Just awesome. So really enjoying that so far. We'll see where we get to. I just was looking at it. It's a 24 turn campaign. And I'm on my 5th activation in turn 6. And if that cadence continues, that's going to make that a hell of a long game. So we'll see where we get to. I think the current situation that I'm in, the British are about to capitulate because they've got 3 units, not isolated, but they can't be considered to be in what they call trace to enable activation. And they're going to have to potentially roll for surrender as well. So that might force a reset of the gameplay. And I will probably pick a smaller scenario to replay, but it's definitely going to go back up on the table real quick. Yeah, I would, and if tell you what, it's already, regardless of what happens with the rules and what they change or anything like that, it is my #1 favorite SCS title. And I had basically sworn off SCS because it was so ahistorical and so goofy with all the move and overrun and then combat and then exploit and then overrun and getting your 4 or 5 attacks in a turn just didn't make sense. But this concept of a monthly turn and activations that represent 1 to 2 or 1 to 5 days of activity really feels right to me, and the system plays really well into that type of model. It's pretty cool. Line of battle, man. I was really taken aback after having played Blind Swords, the Battle Hymn system, and I can't remember what the other damn game is that I played. It may have been an older SPI game or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, I sat down with this, and it was, first of all, crystal clear, extraordinarily organized, and very thematic. And not a huge fan of the counters, but that's okay. Maps were gorgeous, and the gameplay just brought the historical elements right out to me, to the forefront, particularly the mechanics around what I would call gunfire and then assault or melee. They work so well, and it drove home to me that, and I think Blind Swords does this to a certain extent as well, that it's not the firing of the weapons necessarily that is causing the damage in this sort of time period, and even more so in Napoleonics, actually. It's the morale, it's the effect of the fire upon the morale of the formation that really is doing the damage. And what I saw in Line of Battle was that you would fire upon a unit, you wouldn't do any damage, i.e. you take a step loss or anything like that, but you would have to take a morale check, which would then potentially shake you or disrupt you or give you shaky legs or cause you to retreat or cause you to lose a step and retreat. And it was the effect of the morale roll that is driving a lot of the breakdown of the cohesion of the forces. And that really stuck home for me. It was pretty awesome. I think to take Washington is ridiculously overpriced for what's in the box. I think it's either $60 or $80. I don't know which number it is. And I think I paid whichever the highest number it is you can pay. I paid that. And then the freaking thing was on sale 2 weeks later. So stupid me. But expensive. But if you can get any of the other games or even the older modules, and Kyle can probably tell us what the older modules are, and so can Jeff, actually. But the regimental subsystem, I think it is, or the brigade system, one of the two, I forget the name of it. And you can use these rules and charts with those games And so you've got half a dozen games or more, or battles, that you can explore with this rule system, and it will let you have a fine old time with them. And I think that makes it a pretty extensive library, and those games are pretty cheap too. So that's worth to know. I know Line of Battle. I know that Last Chance for Victory is outrageously expensive now. Would like to try and get that to the table, but that probably leads me to what I want to do next year. But let's look at what are my few top games for the year. So, funnily enough, and in no particular order, right? Hanu, funnily enough, super rich. What I didn't get into earlier on, and things that bugged me, was that the game has a super, and because it's it's a baby GOS, right? The Grand Operational System, or whatever it's called. I don't want to forget what GOS stands for. I've got the rule book here somewhere. But the Hanu from Decision Games, despite sloppy rule book and the goofy colors everywhere, the tactical choices that you're presented and the method in which you need to go about getting engaged in combat to achieve your objectives is very rich. And it's, I would say, whether or not you ever played GOS in the future, I would say Hanu is a great game and probably one of the best magazine games I've played, despite some of the questions I have with the rules. It's excellent. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just an unfinished gem is what I would call it. And I would hope that someone will do an FAQ on that bad boy. Regimental subsystem. Thank you, David. I got it right. Woohoo! And then, North Africa, I just spoke about that quite a bit. So let's skip that. But I think that's one of my top four. And then Kharkov Battles. It struck me as being smart and attractive and playable very quickly as well. Once you grok those rules and get them down, much better than Full Blau in terms of the rules overhead and structure. It's been cleaned up a lot. I was not a big fan of Full Blau, but Kharkov Battles was great. And then Korean War. I loved that title this year. Out of many of the games I played, of the newer games I played, it really went very high on the list for me. So I thought it was pretty fabulous. So they're my top four for the year. Now, I don't even know what else. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So this is the last or second last slide or whatever. What am I going to do this year? Now, these are probably a little lofty in terms of how much time I'm going to have. But if we don't have, hey, Hopshed, I'm glad that you like that. Yeah, the hallowed ground, Kyle, that's a really good point. So I'd be curious I had all these games. I had all these games before Line of Battle was even released. Would have been interesting to play this hallowed ground and then play the other one, Last Chance for Victory, and see what the difference is like. I have this terrible sound as well. All right. Anyway, that's so take that off. And so Sacred Oil is on its way to me very shortly. So once I'm done with Africa, that will be the next game that goes up. I may end up taking a piecemeal approach and play a smaller scenario to make sure I come to grips with some of the choices that need to be made. It's a much bigger game from a strategic level, decision-making and gameplay than some of the other titles. There's a lot more that goes on in what I would call the pre-war. So I'm going to have to be careful that I don't get frustrated with it. Not a lot of units on the map, but there's a lot of stuff going on. and a lot of choices to be made. And there's also a lot of stuff to be moved on some of the tracks that come from around the Pacific, from Japan and from the Pacific and from around the Horn of Africa and all the rest of it. So you've got to get reinforcements in, and that all takes time, and there can be combat on those tracks as well. So I want to make sure I get all that right and crush that pretty well. I'm going to get some modern T2K solo in, Twilight 2000 in. That'll be all. I won't be posting too much about that. I'll just be writing that up, and then we'll share it at some point in the future. MBT, I got to get at least one of those in this year, right? I just bought on sale South China Sea and the Indian Ocean modules. I've read the rules. I'm good to go with that. I think I want to get that to the table. One of those two modules in a smaller scenario, ASAP, probably after Sacred Oil. Ranger, we need to get another Ranger session in because just super fun, really engaging. And now that I've got a couple of guys' names that I've been using to write up my narrative, we will take care of that and get it done. Here we go. I'd be happy to do that, bro. We can do that. We can get some MBT going on. And please make a video if I do of what I don't know. Let's see. We've got a question here about what is Mark Herman's Peloponnesian War? No, it is not. It is going to be, there's an older game from GDW called Epic of the Peloponnesian War. And if you were on earlier on, I was talking about it. I had it set up, had all the gold and the talents laid out, and had all the forces laid out. And had to pack it up because we sold the house. So I'll either be playing that or Rise of the Roman Republic. There's a scenario in there that I want to hit. Anyway, back over the modern stuff. I'm going to make a commitment to getting more World at War 85 done because I miss that system. I used to play the old World at War 6, 7, 8, 10 times a year. Last year, this year I only played World at War 85 once or twice, and then last year I played it 3 or 4 or 5 times, but slacking off a lot. Air and Armor will come out next year, and it will get a slot on the table. Third World War will come out next year. It will get a slot on the table. Probably not the entire thing, depending on what's changed and what's going on there. I'm not confident that or comfortable that I will be able to just jump in and play that. I think there's going to be a significant amount of change that occurs with the World War system. Let me see something here. No. Okay, and so then on Vassal for modern, I'm probably going to run Nordcap because my buddy who I'm playing Stalingrad 42 with, I know that he wants to play that next. Mo and I are probably going to hit some NATO action. I'm open to offers for someone to play who wants to play by email Korean War. I believe that game lends itself well to that. So I'd be happy to do that, play by email. So if you're interested, pop me a note on Facebook or send me an email at BigBoardGaming@gmail, and let's get it on like Donkey Kong. And that's the modern stuff. Now, Napoleonics and Ancients, the DG Wellington's victory, I'm a sucker for punishment, I guess. I have to play that game now that I've found some extra charts that explain what all the counters are, because there are counter different definition absences in the rules, and the charging rules are goofy, so I got to work all that out. But I want to get back to that. I want to play Line of Battles, Last Chance for Victory, the Gettysburg game, along with the Bloody Sacrifice. I think that's what's called. Their big Gettysburg game, and it'd be cool to play those two titles side by side, right? Well, not, yeah, could I do side by side? I don't think I can. I think that's too big. I think it's too big. Hang on one second here. I've got a message here. Let's make sure it's not urgent, because my wife might be messaging me, but no. Okay, so Blind Swords, and yeah, I'd like to try and get those two done either consecutively or in parallel if I can. I've got my game of Thunder at Dawn going on, so we'll keep that going. Now, World War II, I'm super excited about Pacific War. When it's released, we'll play a small scenario for that. And I'm currently playing some Totenkopf Death Ride Kursk. I'm hoping that that will build up enough muscle memory for me to tackle the slightly different scale of Araquat. And then I would like to the DRK version of Araquat, and then compare that to the BCS version if and when that comes out next year. I'm going to reinvest in old school tactical for some tactical World War II action. I have been missing that. I may get to Raging Storm, the TCS game, the tactical combat system, super system, and I'm keen to see American tanks versus German tanks in a difficult situation. So I think that might be kind of interesting to get after. A little solitaire action with Crowbar, and then I want to keep some slots open, but and I'm probably not going to get to the Desert Fox Deluxe. It is going to require a more significant investment, but they're kind of my and some vassal stuff that I'm going to keep going. I'd love to find a vassal game of Goss, Wacht am Rhein, if anyone's interested. I've got someone signed up to play Last Blitzkrieg with me, BCS. Starting in February, we're going to get started on that. A smaller, I think Patent Attacks is the scenario we're going to play. It's a 4 or 8 turn scenario or something like that. So that's going to be pretty cool. So we're going to roll dice, right? We're going to make sure that we keep running and gunning here. Let's see what the comments have. I've kind of missed quite a few here. So let's see. John is saying War for America. I'm hoping that's a good game too. I have not looked at it in detail, John, so I'd be keen to hear anyone's comments about that game. I'm taking it as a personal challenge too, Kyle. Absolutely. And Mo, I can teach you how to play. It's pretty straightforward. Now, Trev, how do you know that it's essentially the same? That's something I'd be curious to hear from you, because I've heard that they're updating and refining. Now, if it is the same rule set, then I'll slap that bad boy down and we'll just get after it and play the whole thing. But let's see what has been updated and changed. Maybe it's just OB stuff. Who knows? What game play by email? Well, let's go back and have a look. I will. If you're talking to me, LBW. And I'm sorry, I forget your name. By the way, my apologies. But I've got several games that I would play by email. In particular, I would play the Korean War by email. Unfortunately, I don't have the evenings or the time to do voiceover and live gameplay on a regular basis. I have a Monday night commitment, a Thursday afternoon commitment, and I've got a Saturday commitment typically, and then all the random live bits and pieces that I do. I just can't make promises to folks to play live, so it would need to be played by email. That's interesting, Kyle. Now, that's funny. I have not played any of the Pacific stuff, so maybe that's what I need to do. I need to pull some of those out and get after it. You were a proofreader. Okay, well, that's encouraging, and we might get that bad boy to the table sooner or later. Sooner than later, I should say. Okay, well, that's really cool. That's encouraging. Yeah, Trev, it really wasn't Compass. It's the designer, right? He wanted to fix the game that he made, and he did. So there you have it. All right. Well, look, I know that it's New Year's Eve, so I'm going to go back in here and actually going to make a cocktail, I think, and play North Africa. I have to get turn 6 done, finish turn 7, so that I can get to a point where I can work out whether the British need to surrender, or whether they and we reset, or start a new scenario, or whether I need to check in with Fabrizio to see where my sacred oil is, to see if I should pack up North Africa and then put sacred oil out just ASAP. Right? I'm super pumped. Puppy, what do you think? Oh, wrong thing. Hey, are you excited? You look as excited as all the people who watched the videos. What do you think, Bobby? Scott, what do you think? All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for watching, by the way. Great questions and love you guys sharing and commenting and tuning in and listening to me prattle on. So I just wanted to get the end of year thing out of the way and that top 10 nonsense out of the way so that we can now move on and focus on the new year and get after it. So, all right, you guys go have a great night and a great weekend. And I will, look at that dog. I will see you soon. All the best. All right. Hey, John, the recluse, if you weren't so reclusive, you would have known to join in and say hi. Happy New Year. Everyone, look at you guys. You're all good guys. All right. All the best. Cheers. Peace.